I think if there's anything that I've been doing consistently right in my life, it's taking risks, stepping into the unknown, not knowing what lays ahead, but just taking that risk. So apart from climbing, so I've done K2, I became the first Arab to stand on the world's most dangerous mountain. I climbed Everest in 2019. I also launched Saudi Arabia's first dance studio at a time when female gym licensing didn't exist. I changed careers, I changed my major in university, I changed so many hobbies. And I feel like this is where you learn about your potential. This is where growth happens. I don't want to sit back and think, what if, and maybe, and one day. I want to do it now. If I'm curious, I want to try. And I think, honestly, the biggest risk is to not take a risk. And a lot of the times, what you're scared about is not nearly as scary. So you can take risks and take calculated risks.
Yes.
So that's what we do.
Yes.
We take risks. I mean, I trained for K2 for a year. And honestly, I invested all my money into K2. At some point, I was broke. I didn't know if I was going to do this. I didn't know if I was going to come back alive. But I was, as you say, calculating the risks. I was doing everything I can within my power to show up at my best. I trained excessively. I got the right support system. There was hazard assessment, the right team dynamics. And of course, you work with the mountains. There's a lot of things that are out of your control, but you try to navigate through these risks. So you take risks, calculated risks.
Yes.
During peak season, it was 30 hours a week of training. And you have to do a bit of everything because on a mountain, we move on back-to-back days for about 12 hours every single day for a month. So the training consisted of trail running, running in sand dunes because it simulates snow, and that's about 2 hours a run. A lot of interval training, a lot of uphill training. So I'd spend at least 3 sessions a week going uphill on a staircase or hiking, trying to get at least 1,000 to 2,000 meters elevation gain with 20 kilograms on my back. And there's a lot of strength because there's a lot of pulling on a climb. So back strength, arm strength, leg strength, and ice bath training. So within my training, within the circuit itself, I'd get into an ice bath, get out, complete the squats, set, come back into an ice bath. Because I needed to train my nervous system for the cold. So there's a lot of layers and a lot of things that you have to train for.
What about the psychological training?
The psychological training happens as you're training your body. The moment you want to give up and you don't give up, that's what's happening. That's when you're training your mind. So I used to always think, suffer now, summit later. Suffer now, summit later. And I'd spend sometimes 4 hours on a Stairmaster on my own. The gym would close. I'd tell them to leave the keys with me, literally. Just in between 4 walls, suffering, needing to keep my heart rate above 165 beats per minute. And I would always think, suffer now, summit later. And truly, when I was on K2, I enjoyed it. I suffered, but I truly enjoyed it. Because I trained my mind not to give up, and I trained my mind to endure pain and struggle. I mean, it's not maybe, definitely. The hardest period in my life was when my dad passed away 2 years ago, Allah yarhamu. When you go through grief, nothing prepares you for grief. Nothing. Not climbing a mountain, not climbing Everest. I thought that was strength. I chose that challenge. But going through grief, that's not something you choose. So having gone through grief, having lost my dad abruptly, learning how to accept it, learning how to go through life again. You get stripped away from everything when you go through grief, everything that you know. And so learning how to show up, learning how to pick up the pieces, learning how to move forward with the grief has been the hardest thing in my life. But it's given me enormous strength as a result. And, you know, this is why I was able to do things like K2, to honor my dad. Yeah, I'd say grief is the hardest thing anyone can go through. Mentally, having to wait for the weather to clear, because it always depends on the weather. When you want to move up to the summit, it takes a while to get to the summit. So you have to move to Camp 1, then move to Camp 2, then move to Camp 3, then move to Camp 4, summit. So it takes about a week. And you can't do that in a day. And you just have to stay at base camp, acclimatized, ready. You have to stay healthy. And all that takes about a month before you can attempt the summit. So we're just waiting on standby till the weather clears. We ended up waiting 2 weeks, just sitting on base camp. And you can't do anything. You can't move around a lot. You can't mingle with too many people because you might get sick. Your immunity is compromised. So I think mentally that was destroying me, because there's even a chance that we may not go up. You don't know if the weather is going to clear at all. And then on K2 itself, on the summit day, On the summit of K2, it's extremely dangerous. There's a hanging serac that if it collapses, it will wipe everyone out. And it collapsed a couple years ago, killing 11 people. So as we're moving there, and there were a lot of people this season on K2, I couldn't help but think, what's going to happen? This mountain has never sustained this many people. And you just feel like everything beneath you is so delicate. I was terrified. I don't think I've ever been as scared. I felt like we were toying between life and death the whole time. I got a few panic attacks that night. And this is it. This is the last straw. I'm making it to the summit and coming back. But I was just extremely terrified. And what helped me keep going is faith. I just kept praying and thinking of my dad. So that gave me strength, just faith that we're going to make it, we'll be fine.
What did you do in those 2 weeks?
Oh my God. I journaled, I watched movies. We had a little screen set up. This is at 5,000 meters above sea level. We had a little cinema screen. I danced.
You danced on the K2.
I danced a lot.
Wow.
And I also tried to train, but then apparently training at 5,000 meters will actually harm you because your body is eating its muscle mass. So you shouldn't do anything too intense. I learned the hard way because I couldn't recover from that workout.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm stressed, I'm feeling down, I journal so much. I journal every day anyways, just to practice, to maintain that habit. But I pull out my phone and I start writing on my notes what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what triggered the stress. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, yes, I try to prioritize and I try to slow down. Because you're not going to fix overwhelm by adding more things to do. But if I'm just feeling stressed in general, I write down my thoughts. It really helps. And I pray as well. That helps. That always helps.
You take ice baths?
Oh, yes, ice baths. But it's not always at my disposal. But the other day, actually, I woke up and I was feeling so down, didn't want to do anything. And then I realized that there was an ice bath on the beach. I'm like, I'm going to that ice bath. Practiced some breath work, got into the ice bath. I felt like $1 million after that, so definitely ice bath. I mean, I would say K2 is one of them for sure, because K2, I didn't know if we were going to make it all the way up until we made it. And I think the closer we got to the summit, first it was, oh my God, I'm doing this. This is happening. Then it was, you know what? This is not about me. This is for my family. I've put them through so much stress doing what I do. I owe this to my mom, my sister, my father. And then when I realized that, I was the first Arab to make it up, I was like, this is not about me anymore or my family. This is about my country. Lebanon has been through so much. And in fact, and I have to say, I was rejected from sponsorship over and over and over again, a lot of the times because I was Lebanese, which is so unfortunate because sports does not discriminate. It's not supposed to discriminate. And to be able to get up there first and put the flag up, that meant so much. That meant so much to me. So yeah, I think this is one of the proudest moments, I'd say. Take more risks. Take more risks. You're never going to be ready. The time is never going to be perfect. Take that imperfect step forward, and you'll be surprised with your potential and the outcomes. So take more risks, really, in everything, in anything that you do. Us being here today is a risk. So yeah, take more risks. And I just want to say that don't let setbacks hold you back. We're always going to go through setbacks. There's always going to be roadblocks, but roadblocks are an opportunity for you to grow and learn and see what's happening. You can either see the road or the block, and you choose. So don't let setbacks hold you back, because we're always going to face them. And rejection is redirection. So yeah, just try to train your brain for that over and over and over again.